What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Napoleon Total War online commentary video. You'll notice in the beginning of this upcoming battle, the audio jumps in immediately into me talking about how we figured out the camera recording software, giving my thanks and appreciation for the first video. We're still new to this, and I had no idea that there is a delay time from the moment that you hit record to the moment that it actually starts recording. So my bad, but I do hope that you guys enjoyed this upcoming video. This is a much shorter battle than the last video that was posted. However, I believe that it will be much more pleasing to the eye as it's no longer one frame for every hour. So I hope you all stick around and enjoy this video. We had a lot of fun with it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So once again, welcome back for another awesome Napoleon Total War online video. Enjoy, guys. For those of you who watched and enjoyed the first video, regardless of how horrendous the frame rate was, really do appreciate your support. I honestly didn't expect to get 140 views within the first 3 days of the video being out there. In the scope of YouTube and how many views other videos get, I understand it's not much, but just know that it doesn't go unappreciated or appreciated. Just know that I appreciate it. I really appreciate the support, and thank you for watching. And I think we've got our camera recording software figured out. Many of you, after viewing the video, had recommended to me OBS, which is the software that I'm using now, and also a little bit of dabbling with the video settings. I think we've been able to get rid of the one frame per every minute of the video. So hopefully this will be a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more pleasing to the eye. We've got ourselves a great battle lined up here, and I really think that you guys are going to enjoy this video. So once again, thank you for your support, and we'll get this battle started. So I am in command. I am returning to the field, commanding the Prussian army. My ally, Defy Carmine, is also in command of the Prussians, and we are fighting on a map called the Aosta Valley. This map is a very interesting map. What you have here are, and we'll enlarge the mini map here so you can take a look here. We have several choke points on this map, and as you can see, there is a lot of elevated terrain on this map. So this is going to be a very interesting battle. We have a village here in the center, which is going to be the center for much conflict, the control of many of these houses and control of the open ground where the armies will be duking it out with one another. And as you can see, like I mentioned before, several choke points along the edges of the map here, which is going to be very critical when it comes to tactics and troop deployments and overall a strategy in winning the battle. It's not going to be like the last battle. Well, I guess it kind of was because there were some choke points, but there is going to be a different way in how both sides are going to have to play this. So this is going to be very interesting for all sides, which makes this battle all the more fun. Another reason why I enjoy Napoleon Total War is that it's not just an arena where you throw your troops at one another. Instead, it forces you to be a little bit more tactical in your thinking. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the armies here. Like I mentioned before, I am in command of the Prussians, and my ally is in command of the Prussians. Without going through every unit, just throw it out there. I have 1 unit of general staff, 2 units of Prussian lancers, that's light cavalry. Those are shock cav. There they are right there, and they're great, gorgeous uniforms, and they're menacing looking spears. I have 5 units of Prussian musketeers. Those guys are the backbone of the Prussian army. There they are right there, getting ready to march into the fray. I have 1 unit of Prussian foot guards somewhere in this mess right here. They are the elite infantry units of the Prussian army. I have 1 unit of grenadiers, 2 units of Jaegers, which are skirmishers, 1 unit of 6-pound horse artillery. They are located somewhere here on this map, and there they are, right over there. Horse artillery is key. They're unlike your foot artillery. These guys, since they're horse-drawn, they can get to areas of the battlefield in much quicker time, as opposed to your fixed artillery, which take a lot longer to be deployed. And then I have 1 unit of 7-pound howitzers. They are right there in the mix, right there with my infantry, ready to get into the action. My ally Defy Carmine has a very similar looking army. He's got 1 unit of general staff, 2 units of dragoons. They are a much heavier cavalry. They are hiding out here on the flanks. He's got some experience chevrons into them, so they are going to be a little bit more menacing out here on the battlefield. They're going to be a formidable cavalry force towards the opposing army, which is facing him is the French. He's got 3 units of Prussian musketeers, so he's going a little light on the basic infantry units, but to make up for that, he's got 1 unit of the 8th Light Regiment. He's got 1 unit of grenadiers, 1 unit of the 1st East Prussian Grenadier Battalion. They are an elite unit. They are sitting somewhere. There's the 8th Life. The grenadiers are sitting in there somewhere. 2 units of Silesian Schutzen. They are also Prussian skirmishers. 1 unit of 7-pounder howitzers, and this will be interesting, 1 rocket troop. These guys create a lot of havoc on the battlefield, and we are going to see them very shortly here in action. Let's go take a look at our opponents. Over here on our far right, we have Sean B. 346. You'll remember Sean from the first video. He was in command of the British Army in the first video, so it's good to be fighting with Sean again. We have 1 unit of general staff, 1 unit of Chevalier Lancers. They are a light shock cavalry unit, and they are sitting somewhere over here off into the trees. I believe that's these guys right here. And there they are. They're getting some nice sun right before the battle starts. He's got 1 unit of dragoons. They are just regular French heavy cavalry. There they are right there. He's got 3 units of voltigeurs, which are skirmisher units. There's these guys right over here. He's got 6 units of fusiliers, which is again the basic line infantry unit for the French army. And he's got 1 unit of chasseurs. Those are these guys right here. Another light infantry unit. 1 unit of 6-pounder howitzers. These are these guys right over here. And 1 unit of rocket troops as well. Those guys are deployed somewhere here in this map. There they are right over there. They're going to be deploying some rockets into the foray, much like my Prussian ally. So we're going to be experiencing a lot of havoc in this battle. All right, over on the enemy far right flank, we have F. Cole Scott 97 in command of the Russian army. Cole Scott has 1 unit of general staff, 2 units of Uhlans, which is a Russian light cavalry unit. Again, much like our spear cav that we brought with us into this fight, he's brought 2 units of those. He's brought 1 unit of Cossack cav. He's brought 6 units of musketeers. These guys are your basic line infantry unit for the Russian army. He's got 3 units of Russian Jaegers. Those guys are menacing light infantry units. They have very, very good range, so they're going to be a formidable light infantry opponent. He's got 1 unit of the 10-pounder unicorns, which are a little bit more effective than the regular 6-pound horse artillery and the 7-pound howitzers. These guys have a much more longer range, so they are going to be able to hit our units from a much greater distance. And he's got 1 unit of the 6-pound horse artillery. And that is those are our army comps. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this battle started. So like I mentioned before, both sides are going to make a rush for this center position, which is going to be critical in maintaining control of the battle, while also monitoring the choke points on all sides of the map. We'll go ahead and enlarge the mini-map here so we can see what's going on the battlefield. There go the rockets. And the French will return fire with their rocket troops. Oh boy, there they go. So in order to gain a foothold in the center of the town, I'm going to dispatch my cavalry units to trying to deter any French aggression towards the center of the town. I've already rushed up my general staff to establish dominance in this village. The French are going to get the drop on us, though, and deploying their infantry. They deployed much closer to the town, so it is going to make it a little bit difficult for the Prussians to establish a foothold on this side. However, with the help of the artillery, and in addition to the cavalry that is going to be rushing up to the center, it is going to get off to a juicy start. Like I mentioned before, control over the choke points. I've split my army, and I made may have been a critically important decision, or a critically damaging decision, by splitting up my forces and maintaining a position on this far left flank to deter any push on the Russians to try and get the drop on us from the center of the village. Deploying my horse artillery to counteract the Russian advance. Look at those line infantry coming up the hillside there. Very intimidating, so we're going to deploy our guns to establish some sort of answer. And here we go already. We have our first engagement of the fight. I believe the first shot was fired. Now, he has beaten me in terms of line infantry to the center of this village, but we're going to try and push him back with a great, glorious cavalry charge from our spear cav. The French form square, and one of the funniest things about Napoleon Total War multiplayer is that the lag is horrendous sometimes. And I was not able to pull my guys out of this charge. They're going to commit head on into this cavalry square. Boom! Look at that. Oh my God. Did you see how that fell? Already, here we go. We are at a messy start in this battle. Prussian cav engaging the French line infantry. However, that does give my guys long enough time to establish a position in this village, and our skirmishers will now open fire on the approaching French column. We are in range, however, of their line infantry, so the skirmishers are in a pretty bad position. We are off to the races. Take a look at the left flank here. My artillery returning fire. They're going to drop down some heavy cannonballs on these guys as they're approaching up the front of the hill. Our light infantry getting into position, ready to open fire on these approaching musketeers. And the Russians are dropping like flies, pushing up this hill. Russia holding his cav back, understanding to commit them later on in the battle, which is smart. And the line battle has begun in the center of the village. Now, France gets the drop on me. My units are a little bit out of position. He's going to form up a nice flanking position on my line infantry. They are going to get some shots off. Understanding that my guys are outflanked, they're going to go in for a glorious bayonet charge. Giving them the cold steel right at the beginning of this battle. So great. Prussia finally moving his troops up. France redeploying his cavalry into the center, trying to establish some control over the chaos that is beginning to brew from this nasty melee fight between the Prussian and the French lines. My guys are going to pull out of that engagement, understand that they're getting caught in a pretty nasty crossfire, and France may be committing to a cavalry charge. Recognizing the danger, he is going to hold out on that cav charge and wait for a better opportunity. Let's take a look back over here at the left flank. We are in a little bit of a bad pickle here. We lost already an entire unit of Prussian skirmishers, and the Russians here are going to march straight into the faces of my Prussian line infantry, and they are going to go in for a bayonet charge. Russia returning fire against the French advance, against the Prussian advance. Words are hard today. Pretty late into the evening when I'm recording these. Maybe I should do these in the morning. Now we are trying to envelop the French on the center, right?
This building has fallen to the enemy.
Doing a very good job at holding off French aggression. My Prussian ally now finally getting his forces online, and he is going to return fire against the approaching French columns that are trying to gain access to the center of the village. France going in for a cavalry charge here. My lights are exposed, but this is a pretty foolish decision by the French player because they are caught in a pretty nasty crossfire between my line infantry units and his. But he does get a good drop on my skirmishers, and they are going to unfortunately rout from the battlefield, and I do not notice this until much later on in the fight. Let's take a look over here. Lancer Cav driving themselves into the Russian column, trying to hold off any advance. But here come the Russian Lancer Cav right into the backs of my cavalry. They're going to go in for a glorious charge here. This is where I was not paying attention, even though I do form into square. I'm beginning to notice that there is a heavy Russian presence on my left flank, which is going to pose some serious problems for me on the left flank.
Our men are running,
losing morale. Even though they don't have a lot of infantry pushing up on my guys, they do have a mean cav presence there. That is going to pose some serious problems for my position on the left flank. Good canister shots off on the cavalry, but unfortunately it is not going to be enough. He is going to break through the Prussian lines and drive directly into my horse artillery, and unfortunately drive them off the battlefield. And that is going to silence the Prussian foot artillery on the left flank, which is a big win for the Russians. Foot artillery are going to break, and that leaves my line infantry heavily exposed on their immediate right flank to this mean Russian charge. We're going to throw in and commit a unit of Russian Lancers into this fight. There goes the artillery. Oh, it is a mess here on this side. The line battle continuing to be engaged here in the center of this village. Doing a very good job holding off the French advance here in the center of the village here. French player beginning to realize that he may not maintain control over this village for long.
Our men are running, sir.
France throwing down some light infantry to try to get some flanking shots off of my guys that are kind of out in the open here. Look at that. Oh, isn't it great? However, the French line is breaking in the center. This is a big problem for the French player. He doesn't have a lot of units left in reserve. He has committed all of his line infantry to the center, so this is going to be a pretty big issue. You'll notice and you'll remember that he went heavy on the cav and lighter on the infantry. Pretty big mistake in a fight like this. You want to have a decent balance. I would suggest maybe 60-40, the heavier presence of line infantry. However, this is what I'm beginning to notice. While the fight's going on in the center, and while the Russians are crushing my left flank, they have completely routed my Prussian musketeers, and they are going to overwhelm my position. One of the questions that I begin to ask myself is, where's the rest of the Russian army? He's got a couple units of musketeers that are holding off on my left flank. Ooh. He's committed some units of reserves to the center to help out the French, but where did the rest of the Russian army go? And it was right about at this point when I turned around to notice an entire Russian column coming out of the trees. Very beautifully executed by the Russian player. An entire flanking maneuver. So while the fight was going on, we're going to slow it down here because this is getting pretty juicy. While the fight's going on in the center between both Prussian teams and the French were using themselves as a diversion as the main Russian force was migrating around the entire left flank of my Prussian army, and they are going to come out of these trees here and present themselves in a menacing manner, very threatening manner to my immediate left flank, and that is going to create some serious issues if we want to have any sort of control over the center of the map. Very well executed by the Russian player. I tip my hat to him because I was not expecting this at all. And he has overwhelmed my left flank, and the Russian musketeers are going to get off some nasty volleys into the backs of my Prussian line infantry. I'm going to go ahead and play it back at normal speed.
Our men are running, sir.
Noticing the breach in my left flank, I'm committing 1 unit of foot guard to hold off of this choke point. They're going to take cover in this forested region, so it's going to provide some decent cover from any rifle fire returned by the Russian player. However, it may not be enough. I mean, look at all of these units that are over here. He has migrated his entire army around my left flank, and that is a very almost perfectly executed flank maneuver on part of the Russian player. And using 1 unit of foot guard to hold off that entire Russian advance, that is going to be a serious challenge. France essentially routed from the center of the fight here in the village. He is going to fall back and try and maintain a second line of defense just outside of the village. He is redeploying his howitzers to get a better shot off on the Prussian players. And I have no idea. So these Prussians must have charged in for a bayonet charge, turned around, and found themselves circled behind the French lines. One of the other reasons why you need to be extremely careful. He's going to get some nice volleys, though, off on the French general. However, he is going to notice that, and he's going to redeploy his general to get him out of harm's way. We are cleaning up here in the center. Not a lot of action here on the right flank. Both my ally and myself were expecting the French player to do a similar move that the Russians were playing. They have a much wider open vantage point here. They could have been able to utilize these choke points a lot more effectively to get immediately behind the Prussian lines here on the far right. However, again, the enemy team did a very good job in understanding that obvious notion and taking advantage of it by sending them around in this much tighter choke point, which is going to be a much tougher issue for me maintaining control on this side. Now we are going to get some nice pot shots off of the Russian Jaegers. He is only committing 1 unit, only 1 unit to this choke point. If I were the Russian player, again, when you make moves like these great flanking maneuvers, once when you reveal your hand, and then we have 2 more units coming down in the far back. So this Russian flank maneuver is all over the map. He is essentially turning the battlefield around on itself. But when you commit to flanking maneuvers like this, you reveal your hand at a certain point, and you only have a certain amount of time before you have to react and engage effectively before the enemy player can redeploy his men to counteract that advance. So the Russian player needs to engage relatively soon in order to take advantage of the surprise while he's still got it. We've cleaned up the French advance here in the center, so we have established control over the village, which is going to present a serious problem to the Russian flank, because now I'm at more of a liberty to recommit my forces to another part of the battlefield, and it will be towards that left flank. Prussia going in for a bayonet charge. From that engagement, he is driving down on the far right of the battlefield, cleaning up house with his French fusiliers, charging into the French fusiliers. Very well played. France counteracting that with their own bayonet charge. However, the Prussian player is going to hold his own. Hats off to these 2 units for holding out well behind enemy lines. However, that is going to be an issue for him, because that also leaves him in a position where he's going to have to fend off the French counteract and not be able to commit his forces to deter that Russian flank. Speaking of which, we'll go ahead and take a look. The Russian player kind of throwing away that opportunity to push through that choke point. Like I said, I only have 1 unit of foot guards that's holding this tiny little choke point. Again, it is a small choke point, and maybe that is what scared him off. However, you have a ton of men right here. Push in. Push through that thicket and then drive directly into the center, and you can furl up the entire Prussian line, because they are extremely weak right here. That line battle really did my troops dirty, and they are well below half strength for most of them. He could have taken advantage of it, but instead the Russian is going to make a maneuver drive further deep behind my lines, which might be a good thing. However, again, he's running a lot of his troops. They are winded. They are going to be a little bit exhausted once when they get over to wherever it is that they're going to be setting up. Maybe he wants to draw my troops out into the open because he is bringing with him a piece of artillery. So that is going to be an interesting maneuver by the Russians, and it may or may not pay off. Now, he could be going for the artillery in the back. That could be another objective of his. But again, like I mentioned before, when you commit to flanking maneuvers like this, you need to act. You need to act fast. Otherwise, your enemy is going to counteract those moves, and you're going to give him the luxury of time. Prussia committing. Oh my God! Look at this artillery, man. Prussia committing a unit of dragoons into the fight. Might be a little bit risky, but that helps. It will decently help the Fusiliers. They are going to put some shots off into the Prussian dragoons. If I were my Prussian ally, I would withdraw those horses and save them for a later time. Because again, it is going to come down to a point where we're going to have to deal with that Russian flank right behind our lines. That cavalry is going to come in very effectively. The Prussian player still holding his own with these two regiments that got caught behind enemy lines. However, they are in a kill box here, being in lower ground, so if I were him, I would attempt to maneuver out of there as fast as I can. However, the French player has been cut down to size. Unfortunately for Sean, that line battle in the center of the village did not go according to plan with the cavalry presence, and he is going to engage in a massive chain rout. And the French are essentially at this point out of the fight. And there goes another unit. Fusiliers of the line. I think the French player is only left to this one unit of Fusiliers, and they are close to breaking here. They're even facing the wrong way, so they're not even shooting. The Prussian player going to get some nice shots into the backs of these, and there they go. They break. And just like that, the French player is cleaned up off of the map. And now it is up to the Russians to make the delivering kill blow. And right now, he is not taking advantage of that flank maneuver that he committed to earlier in the game, which was a brilliant move, but now thrown away. He's just columning his troops up way off in the distance here, giving my guys the luxury of time. We're already redirecting our artillery pieces to counteract those. Well, they will be. They'll be turning here soon. To counteract that Russian move back here into the rear of the lines, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem for the Russian. He threw away an opportunity, and now, as you can see, the entire Prussian army is going to be redeploying and counteracting that Russian advance now off to our rear. So the battlefield is shifting, and that was a wasted opportunity on part of the Russians. Committing his general, he has basically thrown his entire army off into this side instead of helping out his French teammate when he needed them the most. Now, he is going to maneuver forward. However, I am a little bit confused. He's got troops all over the place. He's got one unit of Jaegers down here. He's got one unit of Uhlans. And this is what really confused me. He's got one unit of Musketeers way off holding this house in the far distance. I'm not sure if he forgot about them when he took that building, but it is a little bit interesting because the battle's not here. The battle is way up here. And especially with this cavalry unit down here, maybe he was hoping to draw out the Prussian lines way far out in the distance and expose them, but this is going to be a problem. And he's committing his artillery danger close to my guys. My guys have now spent their ammunition, so they're going to go in for a great bayonet charge into the Russian foot artillery. And this is going to be a serious issue as well for the Russian player, because that artillery could have been a saving grace. Prussian rockets shooting down here, scaring off the horses, and these guys are going to break really fast. The Russians hiding out here in this thicket here. Again, clumped up. A smart move thrown away in a matter of minutes. This was a pretty careless decision on part of the Russian player. Because like I mentioned before, now that gives my guys the time to redeploy and to effectively meet that Russian advance.
One of our units has used all its ammunition, sir.
Footguard doing a good job in delivering answering volleys to that approaching Russian blob that's coming up on our rear. And the Prussian rockets delivering a hellstorm upon the Russian advance. Grenadiers now completely out of ammunition. They're going to go in for a glorious bayonet charge into this Russian blob. Oh, this is so annoying. What a waste of an opportunity. Look at that. A battalion of Grenadiers taking on 2 whole regiments Russian units. They're going to go in for a valiant charge, but the Russian throwing in a cavalry right into the center. But my foot guards are going to throw into square. They are going to repel that charge. He needs to pull his Uhlans out of there. They do not need to be there answering that engagement with that little battalion of grenadiers. Even throwing in his general. This is pretty
Our men are
reckless.
running, sir.
My Prussian ally now coming online, bringing more of his troops over to answer and deliver the finishing blow to the Russian player. Great volley off by the foot guard. Throwing his general again into the front lines of my troops. Very dangerous and very reckless on the part of the Russian player. If the Russian general falls, and that is the end of this push over here. Like I mentioned before, the general is your brick and mortar, holding together the morale of the army. And if you lose your general at any point in the battle, then you have a and there goes his general. And just like that, I don't even think we got a notification that the general had fallen. But the Russian general has just now shattered. He is going to be withdrawing from the fight, and that is going to deal a serious morale blow to the Russian player, to the entire army of the Russians. And the Russians are completely unorganized right now. My Prussian ally committing more troops into the foray. Going in for another glorious bayonet charge. And they are going to slam into the front lines of the Russian player. He's going to form square.
One of our
Decent
units
move
has
when
used
you're
all its
facing
ammunition,
a melee
sir.
charge like that. However, it may not be enough, because now you have the entire Prussian line delivering menacing volleys, and we go for another glorious bayonet charge. The foot guard taking on the Russian musketeers, and they ran away. Where are you going, foot guard? There they go. Point blank shots off by a couple of the Russian units, and the foot guard slammed into the Russian square. And the Russians are close to breaking what was once a great flanking push by the Russians up over this ledge to push my units out of the far left. Look, I mean, look at the carnage here. He did some serious damage to my left flank. But instead of committing his troops into that narrow gap to drive out and fold up the entire Prussian line and help out his French ally, if he did that, the French may still be in this fight, because that would have drawn myself and my allies' attention in two different directions, and the French and the Russians both could have enveloped on this village, and it would be an entirely different fight. However, instead he chose to commit his troops way off to the behind of my army. Again, possibly a good decision. But at the same time, with your Russian ally folding and you revealing your flanking hand, may not have been the best. The foot guard doing extremely well in this melee with the Russians, which is very rare, as the Russian units are very, very effective at melee. They have a better melee bonus than most of the units in the game. Here we go, another bayonet charge. Doesn't matter if they're routing, we're going to clean up house and drive them off from the battlefield, convincing them to never fight the Prussians again. A great fight by everybody involved. Russia now redirecting his rocket fire towards this Russian flank contingent. Again, I have no clue why he put forces all the way out here. This cavalry would have been helpful, but where's this charge 3 minutes ago? Russian dragoons now committing themselves to the far right. They're going to be the first to engage this far right flanking push. They're going to drive into the Russian Jaegers, who cannot form square. So that cav is going to be at liberty to drive out this entire push almost entirely by themselves. Prussian Silesian shoots in, doing a very good job at delivering some flanking blows to the Russian push. And those rockets are going to scare off the Russian launch. They're going to get out of there. And the Prussian ally continues to go for a bayonet charge. These guys are exhausted, but for the glory of the fatherland, they are going to push through and destroy the Russian flank contingent. Very quiet on the far right. As I mentioned before, the French are done, but the artillery going to continue to deliver damaging blows.
Glorious victory, sir, is soon to be yours.
To the Russian push. Russia bringing back a unit of musketeers to try and salvage. But at this point, this battle's over. Now the Prussians are cleaning up house. Now the Russians do a good job in wiping out the Prussian initial push, but with this menacing line infantry, they're going to deliver some nasty volleys to the Russian player. And the Russians are soon to break after that volley. Another Prussian push.
Yes, sir.
And just like that, guys, the Russians are going to break, and this fight is in the bag. Very good game to everybody involved. To fight Carmi, my Prussian ally, F. Cole Scott, who is in command of the Russians, Sean B. 346 in command of the French. I really enjoy playing these kinds of battles because it throws you into a little bit more of an immersive experience. Makes it feel more like a Napoleonic era battle as opposed to a 1v1, which is more of just a mosh pit of troops. And the Russians are cleaned up. He's got one unit way off here in the distance holding out this little house over here, fording up the Alamo, but they will break here soon, knowing that their army has been completely routed from the battlefield. Again, this battle ranged far and wide here, guys. This was a great engagement. Carnage all over the place. Now all what we're doing is making that final push way off into that house to push out the Russian once and for all. And the Prussians will be victorious today. I'm going to continue to be working on the screen recording software in hopes to make it less framing. This video was actually much better than the first video. That was the #1 comment that I got in response to the publishing of that video. I feel like we've been making pretty good moves so far, as this being the second video. Once again, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate the support, all 100 50 of you. Fast forward a little bit here. And just like that, the Russians are out of here. Very good game to our opponents. Once again, another great quarantine battle. I really enjoy posting these videos, so if you guys have any suggestions on any particular matchups you wish to see, let me know, and I'd be happy to post them for you or even throw up a battle online. So once again, very good game to our opponents. Defy Carmine, Sean B 346, and F Cole Scott 97. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Stay safe, wear your masks, get your vaccines, and until then, I'll see you in the next one.